Good morning, America. Dangerous heat, record-breaking temperatures for millions, fueling severe storms across the country with a tornado threat in the Midwest. Ginger is tracking it all.
Flying into the holiday weekend, TSA set to screen over 17 million travelers from now into next week, the busiest airports and the best and worst times to travel, as a major airline braces for a potential flight attendant strike.
In the race for the White House, Trump targets the Rust Belt as Vice President Harris and Tim Walz try to put Georgia in play. Plus the new poll with 12 days until the debate right here on ABC.
This morning, a new warning about the deadly listeria outbreak linked to Boar's Head deli meats, the largest of its kind in a decade.
High-stakes hearing for the suspect in the Idaho College student murders. Why his legal team is arguing to move his trial to another town. Crime tourism ring taken down. The suspects in custody, accused of helping foreign thieves rob U.S. citizens. The latest on the nationwide crackdown.
Breaking overnight, the CIA reveals new details on the terror plot targeting Taylor Swift's concerts in Europe and what the suspects had been planning.
GMA exclusive, the alert about your car key fob with a surge in car thefts. I'm going to leave this car running. I have the key fob with me. Thieves don't need the fob to race away with the running vehicle. Do not miss our demo.
Are you under pressure as a parent when it comes to volunteering? Well, listen up.
I don't want to be on PTO, PTA, room mom, team mom. I don't want to do any of that. I even told one of the coaches today that I am a Venmo mom.
Meet the Tennessee mom of 4 trending on TikTok. Her advice as kids head back to school.
And Caitlin Clark breaks another WNBA record.
And Clark hits a 3.
For the most three-pointers by a rookie in a single season, meeting fellow superstar Simone Biles after the big win. Plus, turning up the heat at the U.S. Open. The players beating the brutal temperatures on the court.
Live in Times Square, this is Good Morning America.
Good morning, America. It is great to be with you. Wed and Gio on this Thursday morning ahead of the long holiday weekend.
Absolutely. Always great to be with you. We've got a lot to cover here coming up, including an alert for parents as kids head back to school, the danger of sleep deprivation for teens, how you can get your kids back on track.
Important stuff there. Also this morning, a look at the holiday travel weekend ahead of Labor Day weekend. We're going to take a look at the best and worst times to hit the road.
But we begin with the extreme weather, triple-digit heat indexes for the south and east coast, while the heat fuels dangerous storms. Ginger is tracking it all. Good morning, Ginger. What a busy summer this has been.
Good morning. It certainly has. We've got another day where we saw several daily record highs, but there were also a few record lows in Washington state. So the change is coming, and you saw it in Montana with snow and temperatures obviously below freezing. So that mixture of hot and cold is where we get the severe storms. We're going to have a lot more where that came from. This morning, another round of severe storms moving east after pummeling the northern plains. In Michigan, new video of damage from the first round of storms. This home sliced by downed trees, a drone capturing 2 trunks shredding the house. More than 100,000 customers in that state still without power.
Oh my gosh.
And last night in the northern plains, at least 5 reported tornadoes. This vivid rotation ripping across the fields near Mound City, South Dakota. Those storms breaking up the extreme heat. More than 17 million Americans still under heat alerts.
Stay cool, everybody.
The heat index in Philadelphia was near 100 degrees Wednesday. Food truck workers like Manuel Estrada de la Rosa doing what they can to beat the heat.
We have 2 fans on each side, so we're ready. We put some waters in the cooler.
Washington, D.C. breaking its daily record, hitting 101 degrees.
It's been brutally hot today. We've been drinking a lot of water.
Some schools in the Northeast dismissing students early due to the high temperature and limited air conditioning.
When we came in, the teachers told us, yeah, we're going to have early dismissals.
It's too hot for me.
In Columbus, Ohio, temperatures over 90 for 4 days in a row. The city opening cooling centers. Records could fall again in places like Nashville, but another reinforcing shot of that cold air with the cold front this afternoon and tonight. Twin Cities, watch for damaging wind and even a tornado because you've got a risk of that back into northern Iowa. And then, because a lot of people are traveling Friday, we wanted to stop it here. From mid-Michigan, Detroit included, back to St. Louis, that's Friday afternoon and evening. If you have travel plans on Saturday, it's going to move through Pennsylvania, West Virginia, up through New York. It won't get to the I-95 corridor until late Saturday night, and it's kind of dwindles out by then, Gio.
Yeah, you got to stay ahead of all of these alerts. All right, Ginger, thank you so much. And we're going to turn now to Labor Day travel, where a record number of people are expected to take to the skies. Stephanie Ramos is here now with how the holiday getaway is shaping up. Good morning, Stephanie.
Gio, good morning. As the Labor Day holiday approaches, travel is ramping up. Let's start with the skies. The TSA is gearing up to screen more than 17 million travelers from now until next Wednesday. Busiest airports are expected to be Atlanta, Chicago O'Hare, and Dallas-Fort Worth. Major international hubs like JFK and DFW will be busiest in the evening. The FAA expects today to be the busiest day with more than 52,000 flights forecasted. Major airlines like American, United, Delta, and Southwest are all anticipating record passenger numbers, with American expecting 3.8 million passengers and Delta 2.8 million. Now, with the weather playing a role, you just heard from Ginger, we're seeing a mix of conditions. Some regions may experience scattered storms, so travelers should keep a close eye on those weather updates. Overall, Gio, it is expected to be a bit bumpy, especially around peak travel times.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be really busy, Steph. So, all right, you've got the skies covered. Let's shift gears over to the roads. So, Stephanie, what should drivers know right now?
So, Gio, for those hitting the roads, avoid leaving today and Friday during the afternoon and early evening. Mornings are your best bet. If you are heading out today or Friday, that is your best bet for smoother traffic. And good news on gas prices. AAA projects the national average to drop from last year's $3.81. This morning, the national average stands at $3.36. So whether you're flying or driving, plan ahead and stay informed. Gio.
All right, so mornings are your best bet after Good Morning America. Thank you.
Exactly.
Wait, back to you.
All right, Gio. Now to the race for the White House. Vice President Kamala Harris and Tim Walz hitting the road in the battleground state of Georgia for a second day as Donald Trump gets ready to blitz critical swing states. Our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, is on the trail in Savannah, Georgia. Mary, good morning.
Hey, Wick, good morning. Well, the Harris campaign sees real opportunity here in Georgia. They are hoping to expand the map, put this key state firmly back in play, now with less than 70 days to go. This morning, Kamala Harris is gaining ground in the critical Sun Belt states. Harris and running mate Tim Walz boarding their campaign bus in Georgia, a state where Donald Trump has been leading. But this morning, a new Fox News poll shows Harris now up by 2 points. That poll also suggesting she's closing the gap in Arizona, Nevada, and North Carolina. In battleground Georgia, a state President Biden won narrowly in 2020, Harris and Walz reaching out to rural voters, hoping for a repeat victory. In Hinesville, greeted by the Liberty County High School Marching Band.
My previous job to this was, of course, public school teacher and coach, which I wear with pride.
Walz leaning into his own rural roots in Minnesota. His experience as a social studies teacher and former high school football coach now central to their campaign message. The ticket then stopping for barbecue in Savannah, out shaking hands and snapping selfies. Harris well aware she can't just rely on those urban centers like Atlanta in a race expected to be so close. Trump also hitting key states targeting the Rust Belt, today in Michigan and Wisconsin, before heading to must-win Pennsylvania. Now here in Georgia today, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz will sit down together for their first big interview of this campaign. They have been facing criticism for not doing a formal press conference or an in-depth interview. And then looking ahead to the coming days, Harris is expected to be spending a fair amount of time in debate prep. Of course, her first face-off with Donald Trump coming up right here on ABC on September 10th, with just 12 days away.
That will be a pivotal moment. And Mary, while we have you, tell us about this criticism Trump is facing about a recent visit to Arlington National Cemetery. His team accused of recording video in a prohibited area. Veteran families now reacting to this?
Yeah, so this video shows the president visiting some of the grave sites of some of the 13 service members who were killed in that attack on Abbey Gate in Afghanistan. Trump trying to highlight Harris and this administration's handling of that chaotic troop withdrawal, but filming in this area of the cemetery is prohibited just for this reason, to not politicize the military. Now, some families like that of Staff Sergeant Ryan Knauss say they give Trump permission. They say it's sad to restrict how the fallen are honored. But overnight, we heard from another Gold Star family, the sister of Sergeant Andrew Marcassano, who died by suicide in 2020 after 8 tours of combat. His grave is also shown in this Trump video, and she says, quote, "We hope that those visiting this sacred site understand that these were real people who sacrificed for our freedom and that they are honored and respected accordingly." Now, the Harris campaign has responded to this. They suggest this behavior is just typical for Donald Trump. They say it shows that he's only out for himself, but J.D. Vance firing back at that criticism, using some charged language, saying that Kamala Harris, the sitting vice president, quote, "can go to hell." Whit.
All right, Mary Bruce for us. Thank you so much. We are also learning new details on the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. The FBI investigation revealing more about the shooter's mindset and obsession with committing a violent act. Our chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl has the latest. John, good morning.
Good morning, Whit. The FBI has sifted through 5 years of the online activity of the 20-year-old shooter who attempted to assassinate Donald Trump. They have learned about his obsessions, including his apparent long-term desire to be a mass shooter, but nothing about why he specifically targeted Donald Trump.
This is the assault-style rifle the FBI says Thomas Matthew Crooks used to try to kill former President Trump last month. The agency is sharing these photos after 6 weeks of investigating the attempted assassination, showing the gun disassembled and the backpack discovered at the scene. And for the first time, we're seeing an image of the 2 explosive devices found inside the shooter's car and the air conditioning unit they say he used to climb onto the roof.
Take a look at what happened.
But after sifting through 5 years worth of online activity, federal investigators have found no consistent political ideology, no evidence he was directed by a foreign entity, and no co-conspirators. And they say they have found nothing to indicate why he tried to assassinate Trump on July 13th, firing at least 8 shots and killing 50-year-old firefighter Corey Comparator.
There he is.
Instead, the FBI said the shooter had been engaged in a, quote, sustained, detailed effort to plan an attack on some event, making more than 60 searches related to Donald Trump, but also to President Biden in the month prior.
When this event was announced, the Trump rally was announced early in July, he became hyper-focused on that specific event and looked at it as a target of opportunity.
Among his searches, when is the DNC convention? When is the RNC in 2024? And how far was Oswald from Kennedy? A reference to the 1963 assassination of President John Kennedy by Lee Harvey Oswald.
The shooter's troubling search history goes back some 5 years, including his attempt to search back in September of 2019, quote, how to make a fertilizer bomb. But again, no clear motive in any of this besides some kind of desire to create some kind of an attention-getting mass attack. This investigation, though, continues. Rebecca?
More work to be done there. Okay, John, thank you. We turn now to the Middle East. IDF troops raiding the West Bank in an operation Israeli officials say targeted Palestinian militants. At least 12 people have been killed, and our foreign correspondent Britt Clennett is in Jerusalem with the latest. Good morning, Britt.
Good morning, Rebecca. Yeah, Israeli soldiers are sealing off Jenin. They've stormed a mosque there and arrested dozens on day 2 of the largest raids by Israeli forces in 20 years. At least 12 Palestinians killed as part of this ongoing operation by hundreds of troops in multiple cities. The IDF saying it killed 5 terrorists who were hiding in a mosque in Tulkarem. The Palestinian Red Crescent saying they've lost contact with their teams in Jenin, with reports that phone and internet lines are down. Our team, we witnessed a large military presence in Bet Rima. Locals there
pelting rocks at IDF jeeps. As Netanyahu, meanwhile, is expected to meet his security cabinet tonight, the UN Secretary General urging Israel to stop its operation, saying it's fueling an already explosive situation as the death toll grows in Gaza. 68 people killed there in the last 24 hours alone. That's according to the Hamas-run health ministry. Gio?
All right, Britt, we know you'll continue following that. Thank you so much. We're going to turn now to the listeria outbreak linked to contaminated Boar's Head deli meats. 9 deaths have now been reported, and Rhiannon Ally has the details on this. Good morning, Rhiannon.
Hey, good morning, Gio. Yeah, this is now the largest outbreak of its kind in the U.S. in more than a decade, and the death toll keeps climbing in a nationwide listeria outbreak that is linked to that Boar's Head deli meat. At least 9 people, as you mentioned, have now died, with cases reported in 18 states. 57 people have now been hospitalized. 7 million pounds have been recalled. And the CDC is warning customers that they may still have that tainted meat in their fridge because of the long shelf life for certain products like bacon and salami. That means some recalled meats have best buy dates through October. They have not expired yet. Boar's had released a statement earlier this month saying we are conducting a rigorous investigation to identify the root cause of this incident. And the company has said safety is their absolute priority. But guys, that was weeks ago, and they haven't released any information on the investigation since. And we now know at least one family is now filing a wrongful death lawsuit. Whit.
All right, still a lot of questions about this. Rhiannon, thank you. Now to the U.S. Open and the scorching hot temperatures impacting both the players and the fans. As day 3 of the tournament kicked off, Lara is here with the hot courts and the hot pink.
Yes.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Right. It felt right. Good morning to you, Whit. It got as hot as 95 degrees at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Felt even hotter on the courts. Francis Tiafoe changed his shirt 5 times during his match. Several players called doctors to the court because the heat was so oppressive. But some of our favorite Americans kept their cool and advanced to the 3rd round.
Overnight defending U.S. women's champion Coco Gauff right at home under the bright lights at Arthur Ashe Stadium. The 20-year-old superstar defeating Germany's Tatiana Maria in straight sets.
I mean, I have really nothing to lose. I'm 20 years old, I already have under my belt, and I think, I have the potential to do more, whether it happens this year or in the future.
There it is. Not to be outdone, Taylor Fritz, the top American seed on the men's side, also marching to a straight set victory over Italian Matteo Berrettini. But it was the heat that was the most formidable opponent during the day's session Wednesday. Players doing anything they could to keep their cool. Soaring temperatures sent fans scrambling for shade, others for fans. The U.S. Open activating its extreme heat policy, partially closing the roof of the stadium courts and allowing 10-minute breaks for players. But despite these measures, the heat and humidity proving too much for some.
Ladies and gentlemen, play is going to be temporarily stopped until the medical emergency can be handled.
On court 17, a pause in the action while medical personnel attended to a fan. American Francis Tiafoe's opponent, Alexander Shevchenko, retiring early in the 3rd set, walking off the court completely drenched. Tiafoe himself changing his shirt a whopping 5 times during the match.
It's so disgusting over there. I don't know how many shirts I went through today, but I had to go full outfit Kang there at the end.
Tiafoe's victory sets up a matchup in the next round against fellow American Ben Shelton, who won his 2nd round match in straight sets. Madison Keys also surviving the heat to advance to the 3rd round.
It was hot, so I just wanted to get on and get off.
A bit of a reprieve today. Temperatures in New York expected to reach a high of just 76 degrees. That'll feel much better when we see Naomi Osaka, Jess Pegula, Carlos Alcaraz, and more hitting the courts. And you can see it all starting at noon Eastern on ESPN. The fun continues.
Yeah, 5 shirt changes. That really says
it all.
It's like Taylor Swift status. Thank you. All right, coming up here, the latest in the Idaho murder.